Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Fast Lane Pod. And here we are. Temi, how was that race for you?
Yeah, it was. I'm trying not to get too emotional, to be honest. I'm not happy at all. I mean, at one point I just wanted to turn off the
Wow.
race, but I watched till the end, and I think I'm letting my emotions get the best of me. But I mean, if I think Lewis Hamilton didn't get a penalty, I think I would have said it was a good race, right? It wasn't boring. There was quite a bit of action. Probably the first time, because I feel like it's one of the first times I'm seeing a two-stop race, where like most people did, like the front runners did like a two-stop race, right? So I always see one, right? I'm used to one. So it was okay, but I'm not happy with Ferrari. I'm not happy with the, what you call them, the race stewards, or who are the guys that
Yeah, the
make the
race stewards.
decisions about penalties. I'm not happy with them. I don't know. I feel like a lot went on in that race, and I don't think everything was judged fairly. I think I'm not surprised that Hamilton was given a 10-second penalty, because I also feel like he is not always judged fairly. And yeah, yeah.
So I think that Hamilton deserved that
How is
penalty.
it for you?
It was crazy. It was up and down. It was, at some point you couldn't take your eyes off the screen
10 seconds
for any length of time. It was like deserved. But I blame Ferrari and not Lewis. I blame Ferrari for that one. Look, the driver's dealing with so much already. You're supposed to be the one telling them, oh, Lewis, we think you should slow down. We think you gained. It was obvious. It was glaring that he gained time. So I think the team should have said, look, Lewis, to be on the safe side, don't give back a position, but at least slow down and let these guys catch up to you. But from Lewis's point of view, you can see why he would be a bit confused, because Charles did gain time in the first corner, in the first series of corners. When he went off the track, he did gain time, and Charles wasn't penalized for that. And then there was Max. And so I can understand
think
Lewis
he was
saying,
investigated, right?
they investigated and they dropped it. So I don't, honestly, there was and we always complain about a lack of consistency with the marshals, with the stewards. That is, and I think it goes back to a debate we've been having for a long time, or that the F1 world has been having for a long time, which is there should be permanent stewards who have the permanent job of adjudicating and officiating races, or whatever it is. And so that you can have some consistency. You have a team of 10 marshals, for argument's sake, 4 of whom or 2 of whom must be present at every race, and you have them in teams. I don't know if I make it sense. So you rotate them so that you have some consistency. But it looks like, honestly, but you can also see why somebody would say, well, the first sort of incidents were in the first few laps, were in the first lap. And by the third lap or so, when Lewis had his incident with Verstappen, that's no longer a first lap incident. You can argue it both ways. But I did think Lewis earned that 10-second penalty.
Is a 10-second penalty normal though? Not 5 seconds?
So actually, I need to read up on that one. I think it might be 5 seconds. I don't know. But I didn't hear the pundits complain about the time. Everyone just thought it was a fair penalty. And honestly, I'm not blaming Lewis. I blame the team. In that moment, adrenaline is rushing. And it goes back to Ferrari's strategist, right? We've said their village people are very strong. Somebody should have been saying to the driver, look, and I've heard a few races where somebody's come and said, particularly with Red Bull, where they said, look, we're not very sure about this thing. So we think you should either give the place back or slow down. And, just to be on the safe side. That's what you do with your driver. You tell him, look, because even if he'd lost one place to Max at that point in time, it's still better than a 10-second or a 5-second penalty. That would have been the difference between coming 4th or 5th and coming 8th today. It was an open goal.
Yeah.
It was an open goal. But clearly, I got my call this morning wrong.
And it goes back to this issue I have with Ferrari.
Yeah.
I just
they're
don't
rubbish.
think
Their
that they
strategy calls
have
are
good
rubbish.
communication. Even when they were telling him about the penalty, they still didn't even give him the right information. It's just like, I don't know, it's like they don't want to communicate sometimes. They do want to communicate sometimes. It's very touch and go with them. Yeah. I mean, moving on, let's talk about the rest of the race quickly. We saw some, so earlier on today we were speaking about earlier on today we were talking about driver places, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was we had been speaking about it earlier on today in our earlier podcast,
Recording.
right? Our earlier video.
Yeah.
And today we saw with recording, we saw George Russell, we saw Kimi Antonelli. And George Russell was like, "Oh, I'm much faster than him," on the radio, and they were like, "Okay, then overtake him."
Exactly.
And then a couple of laps later, I think like five laps later, they go, "Oh, okay, swap positions."
So that's still back to the strategy thing, right? Still back to strategy. They were not on the ball today. Mercedes were not on the ball today. They want to race, but you have a driver that's clearly faster. Once your second driver is within DRS distance of your lead driver for 2 laps, I think you should swap them around. Once they're 2 laps in, just what? Let's give you a chance to try this and let's see what happens. So they also dropped the ball today because if they'd let Russell ahead, they might have finished ahead of Behrman today. They had a good chance of even finishing ahead of Max.
Exactly.
Possibly, I'm not sure. So it was poor strategy calling. But look here. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Lando and Oscar. That is the elephant in the room, isn't it?
Okay, so in terms of racing, I think they both did a good job today. Lando, of course, all weekend he was on form, didn't make any mistakes today. And sometimes Lando makes mistakes, he slips up, but all weekend he's been on form. He had a good race, didn't make any mistakes, right? But I think Oscar Piastri as well deserves his flowers. Started off in 7th. I think at the beginning of the race he was down or so to 8th or so. And he made his places back. Where did he end? I think he finished 5th or something like that, right? I think he had a good drive. He had some pace, had some difficulty overtaking, but I think he had an okay race. He had an okay race, and now there's one point in between them.
1 point.
Of course, Lando has overtaken Piastri, but there's only 1 point, right? And so I think go back to the strategy that you mentioned. You said, let's give them till the next race. When's that? That's Brazil. And then let's see how they're both performing on that race before. I think now I agree with you.
Yeah. I think it was the fair thing to say was, look, guys, we're going to give you guys until Brazil to sort this thing out on the track. After which, we will take a decision. And Lando did everything Lando had to do today. He maxed. He got maximum points, and he was almost 30 seconds ahead of the next driver of Leclerc. That's amazing, and that was a dominant victory. It wasn't just a win.
Yeah.
It was the most dominant victory possible. And look, if I were McLaren, I'm saying to those guys today, listen, you have until the end of qualifying. You have until the end of Brazil qualifying before we make a decision. The fair thing to do would be to let them qualify and see whomever is ahead at the end of qualifying. But if I'm Zach Brown, I'm having another meeting with the technical team. I'm saying, listen, we have to be ready to react to whatever's emerging on the ball. And so if Oscar is ahead, and it's clear that Oscar is going to finish the race ahead, and we have to make a strategy call to favor Oscar, we'll do it. But it all depends on where Max is relative to the two of them. So today there was no real need to make a strategy call, right? There was no real need to do so. The race sorted itself out. So if you're in Brazil and Oscar's got a clear lead and Max is in second position, I'm not going to sacrifice Oscar's race to put Lando ahead of Oscar. I'm not going to. Because at that point, at least one driver is finishing ahead of Max.
Yeah.
And there's only 1 point between the two of them. It starts to become a problem if Oscar is ahead and Max is behind him. Sorry. And Lando is behind him and Max is looking like he's going to overtake the two of them. Then I have to decide whom I'm going to use to block. At that point, I'm saying to the guy who's behind, listen, you're a rear guard. Don't race your teammate. You're a rear guard. So let your teammate go and block this guy behind him. That would be my take at that point. So if I were Lando and if I were Oscar, I'd be doing my best to be the fastest McLaren on the day, both in qualifying and during the race. You have to be the fastest McLaren. If you're not the fastest McLaren, you are going to get dropped in the title race. You're now just a super sub.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree with that. I agree with that strategy. I think that in a way, I kind of feel like hopefully this race, and I think we've got a 2-week break as well, will give will give Piastri just some time to cool down, get his head back in the game, look at the data, and then come only 1 point ahead of you. So you're very much still fighting. It's not, it's not 25 points. It's not 10 points. It's literally 1 point, right? So right now, in my eyes, to be honest, we don't really know who the better McLaren is. We know that Lando has been better for the last few races, but previously Piastri had been performing better the races before that, right? So I think, let's see. That's what I'd say. Let's see. And I will say to Lando, don't get too comfortable because you've got a very good 2 drivers coming after you.
Yeah, I agree. Something else that struck me today was how good Max is in overtaking compared to an Oscar Piastri. The number of passes that Max made today, Max seems to be able to squeeze and overtake where you're not expecting it. I still think he's got the edge in racecraft over Oscar and Lando. In fact, over everybody else on the grid, even Lewis. I think Max has the edge in racecraft. I mean, Lewis is a 40-year-old now. I'm in my 40s. I know how we slow down when age catches up to us. Don't make an old joke. Do not make an old joke. Do not make an old joke. Do not make an old joke. No, I'm not. I can't. Lewis is my guy. Lewis is my big bro. As far 40 and over gang. But but what I was gonna say is I was gonna agree with you, right? I was gonna say I think the race shows, right, how
and just in previous races we've seen this season, Max is a really good driver. I have to give it to him. I'm not a fan, but he's a really good driver. McLaren's, and I saw it today, the McLaren's have the pace, right? But they're not necessarily the best tactical drivers, if I can call it that. But they have a good car that's really fast, and they know how to use that car well to extract the best from that car, right? But in terms of tactics, and it makes me wonder, imagine if Max was in a McLaren. It would be silly.
The season will be over already. The season will be over already. Done deal. Done.
So yeah. Piastri, not so great at overtaking. And I want to say the same about Lando as well. I don't think he also is the best. But one thing they're good at is that pace and maintaining that pace, right?
Yeah.
So
I think even George in the McLaren, season over already. I think he's more clinical. I think George in the McLaren would probably be further ahead of his teammate by now. I think he's more clinical. But Max, for sure, the season will be over. It'll be over. It wrapped up a long time ago. Max does not play. He doesn't waste opportunities. He's able to squeeze the last 10th out of a car. And I'm not a big fan of Max. And it's purely because of his ruthlessness. I don't necessarily like that Schumacher-esque ruthlessness that I'm going to win by all means. But you can't but respect his talent.
Okay.
I think he's the most naturally gifted driver on the grid. He's also very consistent. He makes very few mistakes. So whilst there might be other great drivers, the others make more mistakes, and they're not quite as consistent as Max is. So look, Max is number one driver on the grid for me now. It hurts to say that. It hurts. It hurts.
I'm not sure that I agree that he's the number one driver on the grid. I don't think he's the number one driver on the grid right now.
Number one?
You see that I'm not sure, because if it was a couple of races ago, even after the break, I would have said Piastri. Up till then, Piastri never made mistakes, right? He was a good driver. He didn't make mistakes. It was clear between him and Lando, right? They both had the pace, but one thing about Piastri was that he was just more consistent. Lando would, go off. He makes mistakes, especially when he's under pressure. So now I don't know. I mean, Verstappen, we've seen him struggle as well. We've seen him struggle with the car. I don't know. What I can say is next season, we will see the true, the true skills or the true ability of the McLarens. We will see their true driving skills. We all know now they have a really good car, right? But everything changes next season, and let's see how they fare.
Complete reset. Why I see your point about Max. The thing is this: why I think Max is the best driver on the grid is because of what his teammates is not doing with the same car. So he's had multiple. The car is clearly not the fastest car on the grid. Clearly not. Otherwise, his co-drivers would be much closer in performance. So look at the last few races between Charles and Lewis. Okay, set aside today's penalty, which is partly to do with the team. You see their performance is getting closer and closer by the day. Okay, and the differences will be down to the fact that, and look, no shame in saying it, Leclerc probably has the edge now because one, he knows the car better, and he's younger. I'm not trying to be ageist, but he's younger. So, I mean, maybe he just has better reflexes and better. Maybe he doesn't have the hindrance of time to slow down his reflexes or his ability to dull his abilities. So, but Max is consistently better than his teammates. He's been better than every single teammate he shared a car with. And that, for me, cements it. Look,
yeah, but is that
Lewis has
fair?
shared
Is
a
that
car.
a fair comparison?
Oh yeah, your first task is to beat your teammate. Now, when you're not just beating your teammate, you're wiping the floor with them.
Yeah, but we've agreed. Yeah, but we've agreed that Max is a great driver, right? He's a good driver. No one's saying he's not. Who have his teammates been? He's had Liam Lawson, right? I think he's had Liam Lawson. Who
Albon,
was the other person he had
yeah,
this season before they changed him? He had exactly. He had Albon.
He had
The only,
this guy that's
the
now
only
driving.
for me,
Yeah,
the
that's not
only
driving.
strong driver he had was Perez, Checo,
And he wiped the floor with him.
right?
And Checo is a lot more experienced, and he wiped the floor with him.
Yeah, but who else has he had? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I think it's hard to come. Yeah, I don't know. I've not seen any great driver or really good driver next to Max. So comparing him to some of like the rookies,
didn't he share the car with Daniel
and
Ricciardo?
less experienced drivers is unfair.
No, but didn't he share the car with Daniel
did.
Ricciardo? And didn't Daniel? It's interesting that Daniel did. Max did to Daniel exactly what Daniel did to Vettel. Same thing. You come into the team, and where this guy's world champion is dominating the team, and Daniel came on there and was immediately faster than Vettel, 4-time champion, and Vettel left the team, and then Max came in, and Sebastian Vettel left, and then Max came in the team, and it was really faster than Daniel. And it means the team was imposing team orders in favor of Max, and Daniel felt ruffled and he left the team. So pretty much the young Turk came in and pushed the old guy out of the way. Look, it's poetic justice. And you're very correct that, I mean, he did, let's be fair to Max. He did face Daniel Ricciardo, who was admittedly very highly rated at one point. He did face off against Checo Perez and beat them both. So it's not just about the rookies. It's not just about Albon and the other guys. Look, on the other hand, Lewis has shared his car with 4 different world champions.
Yeah. True.
And beaten all of them. Lewis shared a car with Alonso, with Jenson Button, with Nico Rosberg. Was it 3 world champions? I can't remember the 4th one now. But anyway, okay, that's at least 3 champions he shared the car with. And he beat every single one of them. And Alonso was a multiple world champion, right? So, look, here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are. I think Max is the most naturally talented driver on the grid. I think when one driver beats 4 other drivers, including, as we've both agreed, 2 experienced drivers in Checo Perez and Daniel Ricciardo, I think, come on, let's be fair and give honor where honor is due. Yeah, let's give him his due.
I agree. I agree.
And Charles Leclerc has shared his car with Carlos Sainz. And did he share the car with Alonso as well? I don't remember. Anyway.
Yeah.
Look, best driver on the grid for me is Max. Best driver is Max. Lewis was beaten comprehensively by George Russell, which sort of takes. Anyway.
No. I was just gonna say it's funny how Max is potentially the best driver on the grid, but potentially he may finish in the Drivers' Championship 3rd, right?
But that happens though.
And it just shows you the importance of that car, right?
Of the car, yeah. Oh yeah. I think any other driver in that car will probably not even be 3rd in championship. They might not even be 5th in that car. In fact, any other driver in the Red Bull, maybe the season is over already, because he's taking points off Lewis
Fair enough.
of Lando and Oscar that they would have taken. So I mean, he's won, was it 4 races this season or 5 races this season? Look, Max would have, without this, Max is probably in any other car, another driver with the Red Bull in another driver's hands is not third. And you've had those seasons where it's not necessarily the best driver that's won.
Fair enough.
It's the driver with the best
Fair enough.
machinery. Yeah. That's sport for you. It can happen in any sport.
Yeah.
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 Even in team sports. Yeah. One red card, one yellow card, one missed time tackle, one injury, and you're not at your best. Happens. So yeah. But I was saying, thank you very, very much for watching us. If you haven't done so already, we found out that a lot of people who watch don't actually subscribe.
Thank you.
Please subscribe to our channel. Please give us a thumbs up.
Please
And
subscribe.
please share this video with anyone.
Please subscribe.
Please share this video with someone who might like it.
Thanks
Temi,
for
any
watching.
final words? Any
We'll
final
see you
words?
soon.
See you next week. Thank you very much. Good night.
See you next week.